I've masked so much, I'm a chameleon. Like, I don't even know what color my skin is, It's just like,
Mm.
it's every single situation. And I thought that was just what people do. And I think quite often we don't know what we don't know, any of us. So any situation, anywhere in my life, and I go back to primary school and I can see certain situations, I go to secondary school and I can see certain situations, things that happened where I was completely masking and just completely covering all of the elements of myself to to fit into the box.
Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss unconventional productivity tactics designed for neurospicy people. I interview neurodivergent guests who've figured out secrets for getting a ton of amazing work done without burning out. I'm your host, Jeremy Nagel. I'm an ADHD software developer turned startup founder and PhD candidate. I built FocusBear to help with my own productivity and burnout challenges. Welcome to episode 120 of the Focus and Chill podcast. I'm thrilled to be joined by Aisling Smith today. Aisling is an international speaker, award-winning coach, and neurodiversity inclusion expert. As a late diagnosed autistic ADHD and mum to a neurodivergent son, Ash is on a mission to empower 1 million neurodivergent professionals. In 2022, Aisling started her business Neuro Empowerment. Through her keynotes, training, and coaching, she's changing the way the world sees neurodiversity, empowering neurodivergent government employees, rocket scientists, and Hollywood actors to thrive and embrace their strengths and differences. Aisling designs and delivers bespoke corporate trainings which help organizations create neuro-inclusive workplaces and supports their neurodivergent employees to unmask and thrive. She transforms labels into leadership and differences into strength. Welcome to the show, Ash.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. It's so lovely to be on the show with you today.
Yeah, likewise. I saw that you're going to be speaking at the ADPA conference in a few weeks, and I'm really lovely to be able to speak with you before that.
Thank you.
So keen to
I'm
start.
super excited.
Yeah, that both of them will be great. So let's start here with your experience with neurodivergence. When did you get diagnosed with autism and ADHD?
Well, my story is quite an interesting one, but it's one that I am hearing more often in the work that I do, Jeremy. So my gorgeous son Daniel, when he was in daycare, he was about 2.5. He broke his leg, and it slowed him down because he was all go. He was all business. He was go 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 go. And it was during this time that his primary carer in childcare pulled me aside and said, Aisling, I don't want to alarm you, but I feel as though Daniel has autistic traits. And I think that it would be very beneficial for you to have a pediatrician check him out and potentially explore autism. To which I was surprised because I was a mum. He was my first child, my only child, and I didn't know, but I do have family members who are autistic cousins and nephews. So my initial thoughts were, wow, my son could be a genius. He could be the next Einstein. He may be this amazing untapped talent. How can I be the best mother that I can be in supporting him to harness this, to unleash this? And I was so grateful to this childcare worker. And we went down the road then of his diagnosis and his support. So obviously in Australia, I feel so blessed. I feel like this is the lucky country for if you are diagnosed, because we immediately got NDIS support and, have received NDIS support for the past 6 years with him. And that has really, really supported him in receiving occupational therapy, speech therapy, play therapy, all of the, psychiatry or psychology. There's just so many different things that could help him to be the best that he could be. And as his primary carer, I attended all of his appointments and, obviously learned a lot about him, how to support him, and learned a lot about, wow, like this is amazing stuff. Like, what the OT, particularly, we had the most amazing lady who looked after him, just gave him so much support and insight. And I've always had a huge interest in neuroscience and psychology. And so I started to really deep dive into the subject matter myself so that I could learn more about it, support him more, and, start to develop. I was a corporate trainer and coach I was an NLP trainer. I used to train people to become coaches. So I was quite nuanced in that space. But then I started to become more specific to neurodiversity because of, Daniel, and because I was going to have to support him for all of his life. So, what would the stages look like? How could I understand? But through that discovery period, I just started to read so much about my childhood in what I was looking at on the paper. And when Daniel got his official diagnosis just before he started school, primary school, I said to the psychologist, the team that did the training or his diagnosis with him, have you done a mother and son before? And they said, no, we've not. And I said, well, like, this is hereditary and it's genetic. Would you do me? Would you do all of the testing that you've done on Daniel on me? And
Mm.
because I'm just so interested, because I just feel the more that I've learned and the more that you tell me and that I've learned through this process over the past, I think it was like 3 years at that stage, it just makes sense to me that this is something that's in me. So they
Mm.
did, and it was hours. I did hours and hours of cognitive testing of like loads of different things. And it came out, they were like, yes, you're like literally riddled with ADHD. How has that never been seen
Riddled
before?
with ADHD.
Riddled. Clinically they didn't say it like that, but essentially, yes. And they said we did the female autism testing, and you've tested for you've tested positive for autism as well. I'm like, oh, like that floored me in a huge way, Jeremy, because the ADHD, I was like, oh, I'm just so busy and I can understand. And the autism, I was like, Jeannie Mac, that took me a beat to kind of ingest and to really, I used to say, take ownership, to allow it to sit within me.
Mm.
And during that time, I actually had to slap myself across the face and say, how dare you question, you know, what this looks like while endeavor to support your son in being the best that he can be as an autistic
Mm.
ADHDer. Ashling, you need to cop on. And if this is you, what is it in you? So huge amount of self-discovery then, Jeremy. Like, where has this shown up for me? How is this? Like, what is my life? And connecting those dots. And, we're going to get into more questions in this interview about my career and how it's all connected. But essentially, I like to call it the awakening.
Mm. It was surprising in terms of the autism diagnosis, but not so much for the ADHD diagnosis. It was sort of the opposite for me, but I'm curious about why it felt different and hard to see it. Was it that, do you think you'd been masking really intensely for a lot of your life and then it's coming to understand all the things that you'd been doing without realizing it?
Right. That's exactly it. I've masked so much. I'm a chameleon. Like, I don't even know what color my skin is. It's just like
Mm.
it's every single situation. And I thought that was just what people do. And I think quite often we don't know what we don't know, any of us. So any situation, anywhere in my life, and I go back to primary school and I can see certain situations. I go to secondary school and I can see certain situations, things that happened where I was completely masking and just completely covering all of the elements of myself to to fit into the box. One of the beautiful things, I suppose, I grew up in a very positive environment, and I know that I'm very privileged and I'm very blessed to do that and to have that background, because it definitely helped me in the formation of self and my confidence. But my mother instilled a lot of confidence in me. She told me, you can be anything that you want to be. The world is yours. And I really believed it because I'm autistic. So if you tell me something, I take it literally.
Mm.
I really, yeah, always kind of allowed that to kind of be a driving force for me. But one of the other things that she said to me very early on in life was about, I think, when I started to experience anxiety, that she said, or whatever question I asked her as to what it was, she said, no, Ashling, you're just excited. I'm like, oh, because I was like, you don't understand the feelings that are inside you and you don't know what they represent. And especially the anxiety and excitement. It's very, very similar feelings that you're experiencing inside your body. It's the thought process that changes how it impacts you positively or negatively.
Mm.
You're either looking forward to something that you don't know or you can't anticipate, or you're afraid. So I was, from a very young age, led to believe that the feeling that we associate quite often with anxiety was excitement. So I had a positive perspective on everything, which obviously can change how any situation impacts you in that regard. Does that make
Yeah,
sense, Jeremy?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was struck when you were talking about when your kindergarten teacher mentioned that Daniel was probably autistic, that your immediate thought was he's going to be a genius, which is a great way of looking at it. Because I think some people would go to he's going to have all these mental health challenges and so on.
Mm.
Yeah, I was curious about because you've got a background with NLP as well. Some people are concerned about labels
Mm.
causing limiting beliefs. Do you have any thoughts around that in
Mm.
terms of the way we think about it? If we say I'm autistic, does that become a way of understanding yourself versus a way of yourself?
Well, it depends on the labels that you attach to autism or ADHD or bipolar
Mm.
or any neurotype dyslexia. I use a quote in every training that I do, and it's my favorite quote of all time. It comes from a man called Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I highly recommend because I read all of his books, listened to all of his audiobooks, and I feel like he's really framed a lot of who I am as a coach, as a trainer in this space. But it's, the quote is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mm.
So I begin my corporate trainings with this because I know that we have, as society, a lot of biases. And that's was my initial hesitation, Jeremy, was that the things that I would say to myself, that internal dialogue, but how are you autistic? You don't look autistic. But what is being autistic? What is it? Like, is it those things because of XYZ, or is it all of the beautiful things within you? So we limit ourselves based on our perception of the label.
Mm.
Knowing it's like, knowing who you are is very important. Like, obviously, I'm Irish. That's a huge part of my identity. And I will say I'm an autistic ADHD or Irish lady. And I said, they're my pronouns. Like, that is who I am. And it's all of encompassing, and it's a whirlwind of excitement and fun, and you never know what's going to happen, and probably a lot of inappropriate comments and cursing and who knows. But and very in-depth conversations that are only about what I want to talk about. Um, but if we'll have cracking, but with the Irish word, and saying that we'll have fun and we'll make it lighthearted and we'll banter. And it's like they're all the things. You can frame a label as to however you want it to be. You could say you're Irish. Oh, you must be a terrorist. Are you a potato picker? You can frame a word around anything, right?
Mm.
But that's yours, and it's the person who receives it. It's what they associate that word with. So it is association. So if we're saying limiting beliefs, well, I believe that we're limitless. I believe that we can, and I think specifically being neurodivergent, and I know a lot of us don't like to use this, but I'm like, superpower. It's like, it is in so many ways, but I can't count cards, and I can't do like in-depth research. Like I say, I have worked with rocket scientists and I've worked with lots of people in quantum physics and quantum, like the Dark Matter Institute, and I've spoken at their conferences. And it's like I'm coming on after somebody who's discovered a new star, and they're talking about the latitudes and longitudes, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth. The people are absolute geniuses. And here's me, I'm just like this girl from Cavan, and I couldn't finish my degree because my ADHD. And I like, yeah, that's but what I have to share, what I've done, the research that I've done, the work that I've put into this. I probably have a doctorate without the qualification because
Mm.
of the level of depth of detail that we do as autistic people, that we put into things, and our passion. And that's unmatched in so many fields, in so many labels or types of people. And I think that's something to be really proud of, that you can become such an amazing subject matter expert, or whatever it might be. But it's knowing yourself and not berating yourself is the important. I think for me as a coach, Jeremy, when we talk about the labels, I spoke to a lady on the phone recently. She's 65 years old. She's about to retire. And she told me, she's like, I was just diagnosed with ADHD. My grandson was diagnosed, my son was diagnosed, and we had the family chat. And she's, Mum, of course you have it. So she said, I
Mm.
went along, got my diagnosis, and she's like, I started medication. I feel a new lease on life, Aisling.
Mm.
I feel like I now understand all of the puzzle pieces literally fit together. That it's
Mm.
like, this is why that happened. This is why this is. And so, therefore, it's not about having the label, but it's about knowing yourself. If you have some of this, I would say about ADHD particularly, where you might be not able to finish tasks, or you might like be very church life, maybe oh God, I can't think of the word. It'll come to me. But
Impulsive or
yes, impulsive. Yes, exactly. Like, why do I always do the same thing? It's the ADHD. And it's
mm.
not an excuse. Like, I'm a coach, right? So I talk people out of excuses. It's not about excuse, but it's about knowing, okay, this is how I do things. Now, I'm not going to keep trying to fix that thing. Let's find workarounds. Let's find a way that I can make, lemonade out of the lemons without, because I'm not about fixing
Mm.
or changing, but it's like there are things that's like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. But okay, so what can we do to support that around that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It's a great way of looking at
Yeah.
it. So let's now talk about your work. You speak to rocket scientists, you coach people.
Mhm.
Tell us more about the type of training and coaching that you do.
Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for the work that I do. Last year, I was awarded my prized possession, the Neurodiversity Trainer of the Year award.
Congratulations.
I thank you, and I've worked. I work intensely, within organizations, I suppose, because my background is corporate with my diagnosis. And when I did my deep dive into where did it all go wrong in my life, I kind of go through the cycle of anger, when you get your late diagnosis, and sadness and fear and anxiety, or like that kind of regret, as well as like looking forward to the future. Oh my God, what does the future look like for me? Well, there's a whole plethora of emotions. And then there's happiness, of course, as well, and relief that, like, wow, I kept trying to fix me or fighting with friends and family because I wasn't doing it the way that they wanted me to do things. But now I know that this is part of it. So what can I do to support myself? And I see that in other people. So I was lucky to have the training that I had. And as I was a corporate trainer, when my diagnosis came through, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just don't feel authentic in doing this work
Mm.
because I'm neurodivergent. So even though I always have been, but now with this knowing, I can't train people in communications and leadership and sales and customer service in the same way, through the same lens. So I did some training, reskilled again, in mental health. And I did a couple of courses in mental health because the more I was working in organizations, I could see the mental health of the employees was being impacted in many different ways. Pressure, all of the things, just so many things. And it was with that, and not necessarily just because of that, but that I thought I need to take my life experiences, my failures, the many, many, many failures that I've had and experiences that I had now analyzed and kind of broken down and understanding as to how my neurodivergent traits impacted those situations, which caused snowball of events that, wasn't ideal essentially. And I just started to build out trainings. And well, not my very first, but I had a lot of corporate clients. So I was able to say, hey, this is a new offering that I have. Are you interested in this? So they started to say, yeah, God, that's it. That's actually something that's very interesting. So I started to run pilots and run trainings with them. And my first big client, I had two. One was KPMG, and the other one was IPA. So the IPA would be the representative body for professionals who work in government in Victoria.
Okay.
So they run a number of different courses. They've got different people, say like me, who run courses on government and strategy and policy and how to write government documents and all sorts of things. So they also have mental health training courses. And they were like, yeah, neurodiversity in the public sector. Could you create some courses for us around that we could deliver? And they took off, like, and there was a huge amount of interest. And yeah, it kind of really started from there.
Wonderful.
I suppose I can keep going on if you want, but do you have any specific questions about that, or will I tell you more to the depth of the work that I do then in organizations?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay. So I will run public courses like for different organizations, or say for KPMG, for instance, or other big companies like that. I will understand everything, who they are, all of what they represent, how they look after their people, and design and develop specific training programs for different areas of their organization based on who they are as a company, how they want to treat their people, and then what their expectations are of their leaders, and then integrate that with neuro inclusion, neurodiversity, creating an awareness of neurodiversity. And I suppose over my time, I've worked with different organizations like IBM and ANZ Bank, and oh, like so many now. I suppose at this stage, I have a beautiful wallpaper of clients and customers that I've worked with. And I'm so grateful that there's a lot of word of mouth, that people like, you're very down to earth. You make it really easy. My neurodivergent audience attendees are like, I just feel so seen. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that there's somebody like you sharing this information, because I'm like, it doesn't have to be hard, lads. It's just being understanding. And I make it simple. I don't overcomplicate it in any way. And in the development. So through working in organizations, I did a lot of support for when I was working as a consultant in specific organizations. I was brought in to like kind of rewrite policies that in within those, like analyze how are we doing things, how is this impacting a neurodivergent employee, and then there were neurodivergent employees already within organizations that had been sometimes hired on a recruitment placement program for autistic individuals or whatever. So I would support them with coaching to support integration into the overall workforce. But I found that quite often there was sometimes businesses wanted a fix. Can you just do that? And I'm like, I can't just do that.
Mm.
It's not just that thing. I can't just fix. It's not fixing them to fit in to us. Because quite often there's a them and us mentality. It's everything is integration. It's the company. We have to build this from the foundation. So I developed a 7 step roadmap for, I said to call it my 7 pillars of workplace neuro inclusion. So the first step is foundational. Everybody in the organization needs to know, what is neurodiversity? What is autism? What is it really? And I use my own ignorance to educate. Where was I 10 years ago? What did I know about it? What were my thoughts about neurodiversity? Like, I'm so ashamed. If you came to me 10 years ago and said, my son or my daughter is autistic, I would have said to you, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That must be terrible for you. Like, that would
Mm.
have been my response. It is not now. And I'd be like high fiving, that's awesome. How's it going? Because it's obviously, how's it going for you, mom or dad? Are you coping okay? How are you? Can I support you? But I want my enthusiasm for neurodiversity, for neurodivergence, to be contagious. I
Mhm.
always kind of have this thing in the back of my head when I'm running a training. Jeremy, I want the neurotypical people in the room to be jealous. I wish that they were neurodivergent by the end of the training. And I'm like, if I do that, then I know I've done a good job, right?
Mm.
So there's a huge part of it that's breaking the bias. So it's kind of going from foundational awareness and then going into culture. So integrating it into culture, because it's not just if there are people who are dismissing it, who are saying, oh, but you don't look autistic, or you must only be a little bit autistic. You must be
Mm.
really low on the spectrum, or everyone has ADHD nowadays. Sure, everyone has a diagnosis. Like, all of those things are false truths. We all know the most horrible things that you can say to somebody who is neurodivergent. So it's changing that culture, that mentality, to understand, no, that's not the case. But we are brilliant and we need to be supported. And not everybody is. And your workplace has been designed for 80% of your employees, but there's 20 plus percent of your employees who are struggling in this environment, because and it's not your fault, but it's just because the environment isn't built to fit. It's not built to support them. It's not
Mm.
built to help them to thrive. And if you're hiring autistic people because they're great at IT or they can count cards or they're brilliant at pattern recognition, you need to create the environment that's going to help them to embrace those skills and bring them to fruition.
Mhm.
Because if your environment is stifling and if it's not supportive, you're not going to get the best from them. They're going to mask, they're going to burn out, and then you're going to have all of the negative connotations. And I go into it and I say, these are the terrible things that happen to neurodivergent individuals
Mm.
internally and externally. I sometimes say I'm like a corporate firefighter. I get calls like from government departments and be like, we had an incident like this happened and they exploded and like this is completely unacceptable and they're going to have to, but can you talk to them? And I'm like, I can, absolutely. I want to talk to their manager too. And I want to talk to anybody else that was involved. And this is where I suppose my coaching comes in. And I'll talk to the individual. What happened? What went down? And it can be very hard, as you would know, to articulate situations sometimes because it's just like I call it the volcanic effect. It's 0 to 100 and you goes, the volcano
Mm.
explodes and that's it. You don't always know. But it's the pokey sticks. It's all of the things that happened that before that happened. And I'll say that to the manager. I'm like, it's not the thing is not like that. That was a result of all of these other things,
Mm.
you know? And so what was happening before the thing? Because the thing was the straw that broke the camel's back. So this communication that you've got going on, this way of hiding, gatekeeping information and creating change, like dismissing work that people are doing, this needs to be changed, this culture. Like we need to develop better communication. And it's funny going back to where I used to be a communications trainer. Like going back. So one of my pillars is communication and collaboration and knowing how to communicate effectively, not dismissively, not saying you need to communicate in the way that I like to receive communication. It's understanding as a manager or a coworker for us all, not just neurotypical people, but like neurodivergent people to like, how do you like to like, communicate? This is how I like to communicate. These are my nuances. What are yours? And then if we can understand each other, then we can get on better. And then
Mm.
there's four other pillars. So recruitment and leading, managing, continuation. Like, so what do we do after the fact? And then employee empowerment, because empowerment is very important to me. I think if we feel empowered as neurodivergent individuals, if we can feel like, as I say, like the greatness within us, it will override the negativity. It will override the pain that we feel inside because the self belief that's created from that, and then that helps us to be brilliant and to self advocate and to stand up for ourselves in situations whereby we would have been walked all over potentially previously. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I kind of integrate those pillars into everything that I do, Jeremy, and then create bespoke training programs for most companies that because I feel like every company is different and I can't say delivered something for you that I delivered for somebody else because you are unique and
Mm.
we are all unique. And the way that we learn and train or these trainings are created need to be with your brand and your voice in mind. So yeah, that's what I do. And then coach and support the individuals within their workplaces to be empowered and to feel great. And the keynotes, yes. So the keynote speaking is the other way that I can, I suppose, reach more people and
Mm.
create just that ripple effect, right?
Yeah, wonderful. And you've answered one of the questions that I said had been asked by listeners in the past, which was around what accommodations should you ask for? And I realized as you were talking, maybe it's almost the wrong question. And the starting point is actually what sort of culture do we need to create? Because the accommodations probably flow from that. I've
Yeah.
certainly found that in my workplace is relatively accepting by default. Because I think that can be one of the challenges that you've got the people who have been formally identified, but there are also a lot of people who don't want to tell HR that they've got a diagnosis or that they haven't
Yes.
realized yet. And if we can
Mhm.
normalize ways of working that are going to benefit everyone, that's going to help everyone, not just the 80%.
That Yes, exactly. And I play a lot on because I come from a business background, so I know what's important to them. And I'm there as resident expert on neurodiversity. And I don't have a PhD in it, but what I do know is what we need,
Mm.
because I work with so many individuals to know what they're not getting. And what we need is so little. It's so
Mm.
little sometimes. It's like what accommodations. Sometimes it's just understanding. It's having a
Mm.
manager who gives us extra time, who actually thinks to ask first, this is the scope of work that needs to be done, or takes time to explain things in more detail because some of us like all of the detail. We need to know all of the things so that we can then start and begin. And that takes time sometimes. But if you expect something to be done in 5 minutes, that we need to spend time processing and putting all of that together, you're not considering our needs. And I
Mm.
think the consideration of needs is a big thing. And that comes down to communication. And it
Mm.
comes down to like having those conversations, learning who your staff are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, where do they need support, and what does that support look like? And that goes for neurotypical workers as well, Jeremy. And
Mm.
I say that I'm like, let's not polarize your autistic employees, your neurodivergent employees. Let's not like put them on a podium and say, oh, have all the other employees. See, look at them with all their accommodations. Aren't they lucky? Let's just give accommodation to everybody that
Mm.
requires them to be the best that they can be at work so
Mhm.
that they can do their job effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And when you're not training or speaking or coaching, what do you get up to in your spare time?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Like nothing, because I'm
It's spare
writing
time.
content. I'm writing, yes, I do like this is,
Same here.
I'm like the total embodiment of everything which is great, right? Because I guess my subject matter of obsession is really beneficial. It can make me money. But I'm writing. So like a typical ADHDer, I have 4 books half written. I promised myself that I was publishing this year, without a doubt. I'm turning 40 in September.
Hmm.
And 2 years ago, I think it was maybe, I'm not sure when specifically, but yeah, about 2 years ago, I started a 40 before 40 bucket list, I suppose, a list of
Hmm.
40 things that I wanted to complete or accomplish before I turned 40. So they're the things that I've been doing in my spare time. I also play Gaelic football. I am the captain of the young Melbourne ladies football team, which has a lot of, I suppose, formerly retired Gaelic footballers like me who are a little bit older, or people who want to pick up the sport but don't want the huge pressure of a very competitive team. We play for fun and for enjoyment and just to get out and to play together. I actually started it to inspire Daniel because I wanted him to play. And then he was like turned around. He's like, "No, Mammy, that's your game. That's your sport." He is not a sporty boy. He will play Roblox and Minecraft all day long, but no sport for him. So I suppose that and the bucket list. The bucket list is still going because I've only a few months to go, and I'm like, well, there's quite a few things left to do on that. But what I find, it's like goal setting, but it's seeing what you want to achieve in front of you because it's very easy to go through life without really doing anything of note or significance or importance if we don't identify what we want to achieve or do. And with the bucket list for me, it was like I know I need to have things in my mind's eye. Otherwise, I'll just kind of wander through life and not really know what I want to do or where I'm going or. But when you have those goals and it gives you that, oh, hey, there's a beach here. Maybe I could get surfing lessons tomorrow, and that would tick off another one of my things off my list, essentially. Yeah, and I think
Nice.
that for us, and I think there was another question about organization. Like that's one of the things, Germany, is to create ways to do things that fit with your life. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, right. The next question was about optimizing productivity. So that's one of them to make sure that you have your goals front and center. Did you do the 40
Mm.
before 40 as a written thing, or do you have like a vision board of all the
I have it in
phases?
my notes in my phone. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
notes and the in the iPhone, and I have it like so I can tick the box. You can just press it when you've done it.
Nice.
Notes in the phone is like I have too many notes now. I don't even know I'm like always
Hmm.
notes. All the brain dump, all the ideas go in there. to be sorted and to be built out into, whatever is the next thing. Or I hear something, I'm like, oh my God, that's so relative to my training. And it's like, because I always feel from a neurotypical perspective, I need to get context from their world, things that they get to bring it back to how it connects back to neurodivergent employees and our experiences so that they can understand and not dismiss or what we're experiencing. So organizing, my thought is not great because ADHD, I'm just like my executive functioning is challenged in a huge way. Since I started medication, it's been a lot better. But I know, and as an ADHD coach or like a coach for like it's one of the things that I get asked so much, like how can I time manage and how do I get all my work done? I'm like,
Mm.
sure, I work 18 hours a day, sleep 3 hours a night. Like I do, because I just can't get it all done. But that's because
Mm.
my brain just doesn't stop.
Mm.
When I was an employee, and I'm self-employed, so I don't recommend that for anybody who's an employee. But when I was an employee, I did Pomodoro. I did, oh my God, there's like 25 different techniques that you can use for time productivity. And
Mm.
one of my books is actually based on a lot of like how I deliver them to neurodivergent individuals to say, how about I try this? And I say, try it on and give it a go if you haven't done it before, because it might work for you, but it might not. And I don't believe that there's one size fits all for us. I don't believe that there is that like, oh, this is the way you have to do it and it has to be done like this.
Mm.
I think that's absolutely not. I always say, here's a selection box of different ideas. And some may be completely misaligned with you, and some may be perfect for you. And one may work for a week, and then you just can't do it anymore because it's just the way that we flow. One of the books that I'm working on is called It's All Micro Hacks and like micro ways to increase and improve our productivity in different ways. So, because it's again like the tools and tricks that I give to all my coaching clients, because there's not just like, this is the golden ticket to productivity. It's always based on our nervous system and our
Mm.
regulation and what we're experiencing at that time and what are the environmental factors that are impacting us. And then we can start to build around that. Is that
Yeah, that makes
helpful?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message to hear that, say, Pomodoro isn't working for you at the moment. Maybe try something else and try it again in
Yeah.
3 months and maybe it'll work.
And that's right. Don't berate yourself. Like, don't, because we're our own worst critics, and that internal negative dialogue that, why can't I do? I'm stupid or whatever, never ever tell yourself that because you might believe it. You're brilliant and you just have to find the thing that works for you. And don't spend loads of time trying to find it. But know that if something's not working, that's okay. I remember I did meditation for many years. I just studied or meditation, did before I was diagnosed. I was
Mm.
looking to calm. I was wanting to find a way to calm. And I had a friend who said, I don't know how you could do that. I can't meditate. And I'm like, what you need meditation? And, I just have never been able to. I was like, there's like 10,000 different types of meditation. Yeah, surely there's one. Like you just found two or three that don't work for you, but there will be one at least that will work for you. And
Mm.
I always, I highly recommend it because it is such a great way. I don't do it often enough, but for everybody, but for our busy, 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 busy. And with our nervous systems need meditation and box breathing. But then sometimes I'm like, can't do the box breathing. I fucking hate it today. I just can't. Another day, it's like, yeah, this is lovely. I can do it. But we
Mm.
have to accept it's knowing ourselves. Jeremy is going back to the label. When you know yourself, it's like, that's cool. I can go with that. I'm okay. I'm just experiencing XYZ today. I can see what my external factors that are triggering me, the pokey sticks, and I'm going to go easy on myself.
Yeah, that's really important. Is that there's a lot of ways to sabotage yourself, and it's not necessary to add it in there as well.
So
So
true.
that's organizing tasks. One thing that I'm asking people about now is emails, because I find that's a challenge for me. And being self-employed, you probably get a ton of different emails, and also when you were an
Mhm.
employee, do you have a way of dealing with them in a way that is more structured than me?
Look at, I've tried a lot of things. I try out all the AI and all these new kind of whatever things that pop up on my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed and LinkedIn, wherever I see. I recently, I suppose this is privilege or whatever, but it was one of the things. As I said before, my executive functioning is really bad. I know that because I haven't done my tax in 4 years, but I have a VA. And when I started on medication for my ADHD, my psychiatrist said, like, how are you going to know that this is effectively working? I'm like, I guess I'll do my tax, I'll do my Australian citizenship,
Mhm.
I'll process the paperwork. I like literally just have to fill in a form and sign the document and scan my birth certificate. It's
Mhm.
all that I have to do. But it's like there's perspex in front of me and I just can't. Every time I try, I just can't. And it's the executive functioning or whatever it is. The same comes to, the emails for me. And I get overwhelmed. There's too many. I can't miss out. I need to make sure that I'm on top of things, that I'm following up with my clients. And like I have processes, I need to follow up. But if I've sent a proposal or if I've run a training, I need to follow up to make sure how is that being integrated? Is there any feedback? Is there anything that I can do? Does anybody have questions that they're unsure of? Was I not clear about some of the things? I'm very thorough because I want to make sure that it's embedded. I want to make it easy for people so that they just do it, and together we can change workplaces to empower neurodivergent employees. So in doing that, I was dropping the ball. And then I've got like all the subscriptions, right? So you've got like loads of spam mail coming in and,
Right.
all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, so I have a VA, a virtual assistant, and they support me in organizing that. So I know that's not something that everyone can have. So I am hesitant in like, so sharing that, but I know that I've needed that for my appointments and for my mailbox to make sure that I'm not missing anything and that I'm following up effectively and just to flag things for me and just to make it kind of takes the headache away, Jeremy, like
Mm.
to it just relieves it. When I was an employee, when I had an Outlook email address, I loved the folders. I
Mhm.
loved assigning the folders to the different, that everything would go into it because it's when we're looking at all of the things, it just gets so overwhelming. Oh, it's so hard to, and then they're like some of the elements of the pokey sticks. Like an email is a pokey stick. It just causes us
Mhm.
to feel overwhelmed. Oh no, that's another thing to do. And you have to read it. So different things could be assigning a block of time in the day, twice a day, two emails, that it's not ding, ding, dinging in the background all the time. That I check my emails at 10 a.m. with a coffee, and I check my emails again at 2 p.m. and maybe 6 p.m., or whatever. But I don't have one eye on the emails throughout the day because it's taking away from your productivity so much because you're not focusing. If you have your folder set up so that if it's like task related or person related or client related, that they're going into those folders as they come into your inbox, then it keeps everything together. And I think that that's really important in that keeping everything together. I don't like long email threads. They really shit me like because I'm like I don't like this is too much. If we're starting to converse about something new within it, let's start a new email, please. Let's not put it
Mm.
into this big long thread. But I think that AI is going to help us an awful lot in that. I think that I'm not like really tech savvy, but I'm totally open to utilizing a safe AI to categorize my emails and make sure that they're fitting well together. But I haven't found the holy grail solution that I can share with you. I do apologize, but I'm open to it if anybody has suggestions and they're listening in.
Yeah, and maybe that's the future in terms of AI that can act like a virtual assistant and do the grouping for you. I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to create something like that for myself. It's
Yeah.
almost there, but I still
Watch the
find
space.
it requires that point about at 10 a.m. psych myself up for it and look at it
Mm,
because it's still going to eventually require the emotional side of it to be dealt with. I think that's the hard part for me. There can be exciting things in email, and there can also be scary things or things that require work, and that's part
that's
of
right.
what makes it challenging.
Mm,
Is there, you spoke about some of the potentially unhelpful approaches mentally, like berating yourself as an attempt to be productive. Are there any other tactics that you hear people talk about? You've got the book about micro hacks. Are there any that you think don't work in general for neurodivergent people?
Could you be more specific? Could you give me an example of
Like,
what do you mean?
for example, eat that frog is one that a lot of people
Oh,
have said doesn't necessarily work for them.
yeah. Well, you see, that's the thing, but it might work for another person because it's
Mm,
all relative to where you're at. And as a trainer, and I suppose as a coach, when I was training people to become coaches, there's a huge emotional journey that you go through in becoming a coach, in learning, about yourself. You have to learn about yourself first in order to get rid of your limiting beliefs. If you're not like a blank canvas, you're putting your limiting beliefs onto your clients,
mm,
yours.
mhm,
And there's no room for that. There's no room
mm,
for that in therapy or coaching. So you may have been coached, or you may have had a therapist who has put their limiting beliefs on you. Because I think as society, there's nothing that we love to do more. And our families could be like, oh, or friends, well, you can't do that. Like people more often than not to tell us what we can't do or shouldn't do or wouldn't be able to do. And it does come from our childhoods. We're big dreamers, we're big believers, but we've received so many negative comments in our life. We've been told to no, we're too much, you're too blah, like all of that chips away at you. It's
mm,
like a Michelangelo creating the statue of David, right? You're just chipping away
mm.
and you're forming who you are. Some people will like this, some people won't. I'm a little bit like I'm very corporate, but I'm a little bit woo woo. Like I'm a hypnotherapist as well because I've done all of the things trying to find support for myself when I
Mm,
didn't know that I was neurodivergent. I'm like, oh, I need to do another course, or I'd receive therapy or something, and then I'd identify, oh, actually, I'm neurodivergent. No, this is, or I would be, or sorry, I went off. I would get, say, a hypnotherapy session. I'm like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I'm going to become a hypnotherapist. So I do a
mm,
course in it because I want to know. And then I would be like, oh, I can become a trainer. Okay, I'll do that. And so I kind of just went always down those rabbit holes. I feel lucky because I have all of those tools now to support my clients and to support people. And it gives me more depth of understanding as well. But going back to the tools, I do have an arc that is coming around. In knowing all of those things, people have been putting their limiting beliefs on you, their feelings of insecurity. And we are empathetic sponges who take it all in and we begin to believe it because, you tell me something, I believe it. Why would I not believe you telling me something? Unless we are so sure of ourselves as to like, no, that's not me, that's you. And it's
mm,
about knowing, no, 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 I am this. So, in order to know what we are, to get away from how we've been chipped away at, we have to build not that, which is why we mask, Jeremy, but it's not necessarily the masking, it's about building that sense of self. So, I will say, with my clients, is one of the first things that I do will be about creating I am affirmations.
mm,
Who, who are you? Or like, let's begin from the back. What are the negative things that you're telling yourself every day? Come on, give me a list of them. Let's write them down, put them out there. Okay. Now, who is that you? Is that who you see yourself as? No, it's not. So who is you? Who is you? And who do you want to be? We need to establish who do we want to be? What do we want to be? And so who is that person? What traits do they have? What characteristics do they have? What are their skills and qualities? What are they bringing to the world? And let's embed them. Do you believe that you have them or you could acquire them?
mm.
Well, let's embed them. Let's embed them in you. So we have to tell ourselves every day. So we create I am affirmations and it's in the now. It's like, I am brilliant. I am strong. I am confident. I am whatever it is that you tell yourself the opposite of. So you
Mm.
need to rewrite the programming and we need to double down on it because we've been we've been chipped away at by other people, and then we've been chipping away at ourselves. So we need to really override the negativity with the positivity of who we want to be. So does that is kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
I've gone way off topic away from like eat the frog, but it's like if you know who you are, what you need, then you can advocate for yourself. But like the things that you need and that you like or that work for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, I'm going to say a quick affirmation now. I rest before I get tired. So, with that, we'll take a quick break. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a focus enhancement app for ADHDers. Staying on top of tasks is easier than ever with Focus Bear's new To-Dos feature. Record a voice note describing what you need to do, and Focus Bear's AI will turn it into a structured set of subtasks and automatically prioritize it for you. You can also take a photo of a paper to-do list, and the AI will work its magic. I'd love for you to try it. You can jump onto focusbear.io or just Google Focus Bear and try it out. Let me know what you think. All right, we're back from our break, had some water, said some affirmations to myself, and now I'm keen to hear about your mornings. How do you begin your day?
Oh my goodness. Once upon a time, I think like we have different phases of life. Well, I don't think, I know we have different phases of life that we are more productive and we do things, and that life is different, impacts us differently. Our routines are different. How we can do things is different. So once upon a time, I was a 5 a.m. clubber. I love Robin Sharma. He's one of my gurus, and I've
Mm.
always enjoyed his content. I find him very calming and really enjoy his leadership trainings and style and technique. And I just, yeah. So the 5 a.m. club, if you've ever heard of it, is you get up at 5, you do 20 minutes of meditation, you do 20 minutes of exercise, and you do 20 minutes of like journaling, affirmations essentially. So you're just kind of identifying what you want, what you're focusing on, where you're at. So it's a great way to start the day. Now, I've applied that as a 6 a.m. club, as a 7 a.m. club, but like trying to integrate that overall. I'm not great for the gym, and I'd love to be. I'd love to be a gymmer, and I'm not. But one of the things that I did do as my bucket list was I ran the Melbourne Marathon
Oh,
last year. So I am a runner. Now, in saying that, I haven't run since I ran the marathon as I got a bit lazy. When life was good, I would go out and I'd do a 5K in the morning, and I'd do that. Then be at my half an hour exercise. And that was like the way to start the day home, have a shower, and like, boom, you've got the dopamine, and you're like, you're all go like it. And for somebody with ADHD, it's like running is such a great, or the gym in the morning. It's just such a great way to lift your dopamine and then just get you going so that you're like starting the day on fire.
mm,
And it also helps you like feel fit and healthy. So you'll make good, positive choices for food, which of course also impacts us throughout the day.
mm,
But last year I became a single mom.
mm.
So I have more greater responsibilities at home in the mornings. Well, I've always had those responsibilities, but it's just me. So I can't just go off for a run and meditate and do all the things, by myself, because everything has to be done. So mornings right now look like getting my son up, getting him ready for school, getting his lunch, getting his breakfast. I always make an omelet or just like an egg for myself. Like so there's a scrambled egg or an omelet, and then I take my medication. So I'm like, if I have the protein, I'm good. And like that's
Mm.
kind of my one thing for me. And we have a dog, Biscuit. She's a big, fluffy Samoyed. Daniel's school is across the road. So this is like
Oh, well.
from 7:30 to 8:30 is that kind of thing. Daniel's school is across the road. So I walk him to school, and then I do a 5K walk with the dog. So I kind of do a loop of where we live. And on that walk, I listen to my affirmations. I listen to something that I call vibe boosters, which raise my vibration and raise my energy and give me like that, like a confidence boost. I go through my plan for the day. So I do like that internal planning. What am I going to achieve? What am I going to, who am I going to support? What difference am I going to make in the world? And this is like, while this is kind of like a meditative walk as I'm going. And then I get back to my apartment building. I get a coffee downstairs. I go up and I turn on the computer. It's generally around 9:30 by then, and I get into the day.
Nice. That sounds like a
Yeah.
really lovely way to start the day with some looking after your son
But
and
it,
then some self-care and exercise.
yeah, but it's seasonal though. That's the
Mm.
thing, Jeremy. It's like sometimes you can go to the gym and you can do those things, and sometimes you just don't, you can't, and you don't have the capacity to do it, and other times you will. So I
Yeah, I
think you
hear
have to
you.
take what you can do at the time and make the most of that too.
Yeah, I'm going to need to do some adapting because my wife and I are expecting in 2 months, and I think my 2 hour morning routine will be shattered by that for at least some time. But that's okay. It's a season, as you said.
It's a season, and then you'll take it back.
Hmm.
I really was big into meditating when I was pregnant and when I had my son. And I remember like when I would be nursing him and I would have, there's a wonderful meditation app. I can't remember what it's called. It's an Aussie company, but for mothers and expectant or families with babies. And while you're just sitting there with your beautiful baby, you can be listening to a meditation, which it's about soothing our nervous systems and getting us to be the best that we can be so that we're starting our day coming from a full cup. Is what I say to my clients. You need to come from a full cup because we're going to be poked into that cup all day long. And,
Hmm.
that we're going to be losing water out of that cup. So we need to make sure that we are beginning the day full
Hmm.
in the feeling great. And if we're not, we're just only going to want to go back to bed.
Hmm.
So it's about identifying how do you fill your cup, Jeremy? And I think if you change your morning routine, it'd be like, what are the parts of it that fill my cup the most?
Hmm.
Because your cup needs is going to need to be fuller than it ever was before, I think, too, when you have a baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking about needing to go back to bed on in the evening, how do you wind down at night?
So, I'm a coach that like do as I say, not as I do. I have a really bad routine. Like really, I would say like because of my obsession with the work that I do and because I'm really, really busy. And
Hmm.
I love, 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 love what I do. And I'm always trying to perfect everything. So we'll have dinner and I'll get Daniel ready for bed. So he'll go to bed around 9. I'll lie down on the bed with him, read him a story, or just kind of we have that like melatonin, like we put the magnesium on the feet, just like calm, just trying to create that like calm zone.
Hmm.
And then I get up and I go back to work. And I have found circadian rhythms. This is another part of productivity. When do you do good work? As a somebody who's self-employed, my daytime from like when I get back from my walk until I collect Daniel from school, I'm running trainings or
Hmm.
I'm coaching my clients or I'm having meetings with new clients or that are running a keynote or because sometimes I'm traveling interstate or overseas even to speak on this topic. So that's that portion of the day, which is the day.
Hmm.
But my nighttime is my creativity. It's when my brain becomes alive because there's nothing. It's
Hmm.
silence. There's no disruption. There's no distraction. I also have international clients as well. So I will do like go back to the email, do some connection with my international clients in that way. And then I'll pull back in I'll allow time for creativity. So research, deep diving into subject matter and content creation.
Hmm.
It's all done in the wee hours between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. quite often.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I go to bed at earlier than that, but sometimes it's like it could be 2 a.m., 3 a.m. is my sweet spot for going to bed, which is not healthy and it's only seasonal. I know it's just now and it won't be forever.
Hmm.
But yeah, if I do wind down at the weekends, a glass of Pinot or a glass of champagne. That's kind of my wind down thing, and a nice meal or catching up with my friends. Yeah, but I don't. Or
Yeah,
playing
I find the
football, right?
same.
Like yeah. Yeah, I just feel I'm just so excited about what I do. So I find it really hard to,
Yeah, same here. It's so hard, and I have the same problem that people are trying to contact me all day during the day, and then nighttime is when there is time to think.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
challenge.
and I know it won't be forever. Like it's
Mm.
it's just it is seasonal, and especially when you're in the creation mode. I'm developing e-learning programs at the moment,
Mm.
but I'm a perfection. I'm like over perfecting them. I'm like just release
Mm.
them, Ashling. You've been doing them for the last 2 years. Just it's like my book. Just let it go. Just let it go. Put it out there. So all of these things, yeah.
Well, that's a great final suggestion to the audience to let go of the perfectionism and just release things.
Mm.
Now, if people want to contact you to book you as a speaker or a trainer or find out more about your work, where can they find you online?
Oh, I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn is probably one of the best places.
Mhm.
Or my website is www.ashling, AISLING /Smith .com. That's just .com. That's me. We'll put it into your show things. And
Yeah.
I might, yeah, if you think that there's anything that I've mentioned, I'm happy to give away a downloadable to your audience as well. If there's something, maybe some micro hacks, maybe I can put a PDF of micro hacks
Oh,
together
yeah. Great.
to give away for your to your audience as a gift.
Yeah, they'd love that. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We'll wrap the show with that.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. It's been wonderful, and I hope it's been helpful. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.